Before we go ahead and begin the meeting, I just want to make sure everyone has recording privileges, sharing screen privileges, if you need to. Sourin, will you be sharing a screen for your speech?
No, I won't be.
Okay, and Onur, will you be sharing a PowerPoint for table topics or?
Yeah, I've got a PowerPoint ready.
Okay, I just made you co-host of the meeting, so when it comes time to the table topic section, you should be able to share your PowerPoint screen after that. And Slate, I'll go ahead and also make you a co-host, so for role signups later, you can go ahead and lead that section. All right, but it sounds like we're good to go, and we will officially begin our meeting. I'm kind of missing the hammer right now because I've been doing a lot of rearranging, so I'm using this kind of black orange bucket in place of that. But typically we'd have a gavel, but now that our meeting is started, I just like to go ahead and introduce myself to everyone, old members, new members, and guests. I'm Tricia Perez, one of the officers for Student Toastmasters, and it's really great to see all of you here today. Thank you for making the time on a Monday afternoon, evening. We're kind of in that middle period there, but thank you nonetheless for being here with us. Before we go ahead and begin our meeting, would anyone like to read our mission statement, which you can find in the bottom left corner of the agenda in front of you, in the bold that's highlighted right now? Anyone can just go ahead.
I got you. I got it.
All right, sorry.
All right, so we provide a supportive and positive learning experience in which members are empowered to develop communication and leadership skills, resulting in greater self-confidence and personal growth.
Thank you, Tori. And now we'll go ahead and I'll introduce up to the virtual stage, Slate.
Hello, everyone. Here we are again at Toastmasters on a Monday. Just want to thank you all for showing up. We've got a lot of people. We have at least one brand new guest. And we have Onur for our table topic master. Looking forward to it. Just real quick reminder for our Zoom online meetings. Some general etiquette is try your best to mute your mic whenever you're not speaking. Should be able to just be found, probably at the bottom. I don't know where it is if you're having to do mobile, but just make sure whenever you're not speaking not to interrupt anyone else. And it'll usually be pretty clear, passing it off to whichever speaker you'll see in our meeting. It'll be called on. And that's pretty much it. Today our Toastmaster is Scott Alexander, who Tricia will be introducing in a second. So you can take it back, Tricia. Welcome to the stage.
Thank you again, Slate. And I'll now transition the stage over to our Toastmaster of the day, who in that role is essentially kind of leading our meeting, facilitating our meeting, making sure we're staying on time, that sort of thing. And he can go ahead and explain what to expect from today's meeting. So please welcome to the virtual stage, Scott.
Oh, well, thank you very. Thank you very much, Tricia. Well, it's great to see. It's great to see everyone this evening. So what to expect for this meeting? Well, for tonight we have two speakers, Miss Tricia Perez and Sourin Paturi. They're going to be each giving a speech around 5 to 7 minutes. Then after the end of each speech, each of us would write in the comments section on Zoom what our opinions were about the speech and any advice, constructive advice we might want to give them about what made the speech good and what could be better about the speech. Also for tonight, we have a couple of people filling in the roles of grammarian, counter, and timer. Our grammarian's going to be Mr. Justin Hurd. So as a grammarian, Justin will be watching out for people as they speak to make sure that they're using good grammar within the English language. our odd counter, Noah, he'll be in charge of pointing out any filler words in people's speeches, whether it be or so, things like that. And our timer, Tricia, will make sure that all of us to stay in time while we're speaking. So with that being said, I'd like to introduce to the stage Ms. Tricia Perez for her first speech.
Thank you, Scott. Let me go ahead and transition here. All right. So for my speech, just to kind of give a little bit background, typically what we've been doing with our virtual meetings, we've just been sitting down, giving our speech, but today I wanted to go ahead and give something a little bit of a different try today in terms of kind of using the stage, which right now is my bedroom, to convey my speech. But with that, I'll go ahead and begin. So, to the world, you may be just one person, but to one person, you may be the world. So I've been cleaning my room, literally, I would say the past 2 weeks, sorting through some old things, some new things, and I just found that decoration to be the inspiration for my speech. I've been able to be living here with my family for the past 8 years or so, and every time we've had a guest, we've always welcomed them kindly and with hospitality and making sure that they feel welcome in our home. And it doesn't change just because right now that we're in isolation and we're in quarantine. And so with that, my mom went ahead and implemented, maybe not the right term, but went ahead and installed a bird feeder in our back deck for the purpose of inviting even more guests. In this case, different birds that would hopefully come and be able to be nourished by the bird seeds that we'd put for them there. Now, the first couple of days, we were able to meet a lot of different types of birds that I didn't even knew were native to Georgia. Some were some goldfinch birds, some red robins. I even saw one that looked like almost like a penguin, except not, because it could obviously fly. And on the top of its head is like a little bit of black and some white, and the rest of its body is black. So anytime that we were gathering together as a family and we managed to catch them at one of their feeding times, we were able to see these wonderful birds just right outside of our window. Until the first week happened. And what came were the squirrels. At first, it was very amusing for us. And, you know, they kind of scurry up to the window or climb up on top of the fencing that we have where the bird feeder is attached to, and go ahead and feed from the bird feeder straight from it. And we'd always see them like reaching out, stretching as far as they can, or even just jumping up onto the bird feeder. And it was amusing. It was cool to see another animal species right there in our backyard, kind of just enjoying what we put out for them. Until they finished all the bird seeds within the first 5 days that they came. And I was like, okay, you know, they're just sharing the squirrels and the birds. And so we went to Costco, bought a big bag of bird seeds because it seemed that our tiny bag from Kroger wouldn't be enough for them. And so we went back home, refilled the bird seeds, and just waited and watched. Until the next 3 days happened, and the squirrels and birds alike, but mostly the squirrels' fault, they went ahead and just cleaned out that entire bird feeder. I'm telling you, from top to bottom, all of the rows were empty of the bird seeds. And I was like, okay, here we go again. Go to the garage, come back, fill it up, install it, leave, watch. Until they come back again, and again, and again, and again, and again. And now we're nearing the end of this Costco bag, right, of bird seeds that are first and foremost meant for the birds. And this is where we came together as a family and we're like, okay, this is game time. We need to find some way to, if not necessarily get rid of them, at least divert the squirrels to another area of the backyard where they can still be a part of the natural habitat of my mom's garden in peace. And so there it comes when the next day we decide, okay, if we see a squirrel, we're gonna go ahead, open the door a little bit, kind of like yell at them, or maybe like banging on the door a little bit, just making a little bit of noise and to kind of scare them off and let them leave the bird feeder in peace. And this worked for 2 days or so until they become finally used to us. And at that point, they would not leave, even when we opened the door or we jingled the door, the wind chimes that we have outside, they would still stay there. And my brother comes up with the idea of, okay, well, what about water? It's not too harmful. It's just sprinkling a little bit of water at them so that they kind of, get used to, not necessarily get used, but like jump away from the stimulus and then go ahead, leave the bird feeder alone and leave it for its intended purpose, the birds. And so my brother gets his water gun, fills it up with water, and the first sign of a squirrel is running up outside, opens the door quickly and goes through them with a splash of water. But the squirrels, they're fast, they're agile. They went ahead and scurried their way out and jumped away from the back garden, away in safety. And so this continues on for the next couple of days, and it seems okay. They're staying away for some reason until my mom goes ahead and waters all of her plants. She has a wide collection out there of different herbs, some fruit trees that have been there for the past couple of years. And she notices that the peach trees, the peach fruit specifically, that have been growing for the past couple of weeks, they're suddenly all gone. Each and every single one of them. Even after taking the precaution of tying them up around with some handkerchiefs so that they wouldn't be able to reach it. And yet with that, they were still able to get through. And so this continues for the next couple of days, and finally our Costco bag of bird seeds just run out. We've exhausted our methods of kind of like tapping at the window or banging on the wind chime to scare them off, and still and foremost, they would still stay there and we'd be looking at them eye to eye, and they would just be happily continue to eat the bird seeds that were meant for the birds. Now, when they say to treat your guests kindly, well, we did. We gave them food. We even gave them water. We tried redirecting them kindly to an alternative food source, and yet they were still there. And so the meaning of to the world you may be just one person, but to one person you may be the world. Well, those squirrels were definitely our world for the past 2 months. Thank you.
Yeah. All right. That's very good. That was very good. Very good, Tricia. Then also, having the squirrel stick around. Man, they were persistent. It sounds like. Right. Oh, but very good speech. So, if you guys want to take a moment to write into the comment section what you thought, and maybe to Tricia directly as far as what you thought was good about the speech and any advice you may have for her, go right ahead. Oh yeah. Oh, and if you guys might maybe excuse her. Okay, so sorry about that, you guys. I didn't mean to bolt like that. All right. Okay. So in the meantime, so everyone had a chance to type in their feedback to Tricia.
Where is that at on the phone?
Oh yeah, Lewis. Well, if you go to the chat box at the bottom, Lewis, and it's and you know where it says that blue bar to everyone.
Yeah. Just hit Tricia.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Oh, okay. Okay. All right. And while Lewis is finishing up, I'd like to introduce our next speaker, Mr. Sourin, who'll be given his speech titled "Protest." And before we start, Sourin was just going to say, my bad, Tricia, for not saying the title of your speech. My mistake. But other than that, welcome to the stage, Sourin.
Hi, everybody. So this is going to be simply me trying to improve my last speech and trying to put more forth for the audience. So I can't really move around the stage as well as Tricia, given that I'm on a wire, but I'll try as best as I can to move my hands to make it look like I'm sort of moving. So what I want to talk about today was protest. Now, when I mean protest, I don't mean the same things you keep seeing over and over and over on the news. Because if you open up the news, open up any sort of news app, you see the same thing, people protesting George Floyd, people protesting this. I think it's a common theme. Like, for example, during the quarantine, we had people protesting the quarantine. We love to protest or even just like get mad at things when it doesn't go our way. I think that's simply human nature for us. And I think if you look throughout American history, specifically even in the last decade, you see so many people protesting to get what they want. In order to make a change, you have to say what you want and to speak louder with your voice. And this isn't truly just an American idea. But when you consider it throughout the world, for example, in 2011, Arab Spring, people were tired. They were sick and tired of living under dictatorships. So they decided to overthrow them and start anew. You see this same thing happening, for example, in many in persecution, for example. If a minority group is being persecuted, you see them rising up and speaking, protesting. And I really wanted to conceptualize the idea of what our First Amendment gives us, the right to speech and the right to protest. So if you have anything to say, if you want to make a real change in this nation or in the world at all, you have to go forth and do what you want. So while protest has many of its different uses, I also want to talk about how protest is being changed in this decade. So maybe you've noticed this, but protests have begun to get bigger. And when I mean bigger, I mean more organized and more thought out. Throughout the 2010s, we've seen big marches, such as the Women's March in 2017. But did you know that was actually the largest protest to ever occur in the United States? About 5 million people actually went on marching throughout the United States. And this was all because of social media. Social media has allowed us to have a catalyst where we can connect like-minded individuals with similar ideologies and let them really group together and speak out. Because one single person going up against a large wave will be nothing. But as you get more and more people, you can create almost a wall and push back whatever you need to do. And it creates immense pressure on any sort of authority or system when you have a larger and larger group of people. And this is like evident in many forms of historic protests. For example, Martin Luther King Jr. and his March to Selma. Then we have over in India, for example, Gandhi and how he fought for Indian independence. Whenever large groups of people come together, they can do great things. So I think this goes, honestly, with our motto, the United States motto, E pluribus unum, which means out of many there becomes one. There are 50 states, but together we are united. A protest and the various branches of a protest come together to form a single unit that can help say a message. So it doesn't matter about what political side you follow on. You can be Democrat, you can be Republican, you can be Libertarian, you can be from a red state, a blue state. It doesn't matter, because in the end, if we don't like something, we need to have the ability to speak up and voice our opinions. If you don't like high taxes, for example, go protest it or send a really angry letter to your representative, for example. If you want to have more access rights to contraception, healthcare, for example. You can speak to your representative, protest, do any sort of movement that you want. We are in an age where you can organize wherever, whenever you would like. And I think we should really take advantage of that. So if you see any sort of injustice, speak out. Don't just sit there and be like, someone else will do that. Someone else will pick up the slack. Why do I have to do it? It doesn't affect. If you really want to make any sort of change, it starts with your voice. And I really want to draw forth this quote that I found online from Robert F. Kennedy, where he says, "Each time a man stands up for an ideal or acts to improve the lot of others or strikes out against injustice, he sends forth a tiny ripple of hope, and crossing each other from a million different centers of energy, and daring those ripples build a current which can sweep down the mightiest walls of oppression and resistance." And I think that is how we should see ourselves, as little ripples of hope that can do anything that we wish to see. Thank you.
Yeah. All right. All right. Awesome speech right there, Sourin. Especially the point you made about the social media. Had it not been for things like Facebook, the Arab Spring wouldn't have been as widespread as it was. So good point on that. All right. All right, you guys. So similar with Tricia's speech. If you all want to take a moment to write to Sourin to say what you thought was good about his speech and any advice you want to give to him, we'll allow say a few minutes for that and move along. How's that sound? And in the meantime, in the chat box below, if we want to vote for our favorite speaker out of the two speakers, we can do that also, I think. Right. And in the meantime, Tricia was just meaning to ask that so when we're voting on speakers, are we sending them to Slate, or are we just putting it to everyone? Or?
Yes, so with regards to voting, not only for best speaker for this section, but in the following sections, since I'm the SAA kind of person in charge of tallying the votes, if you could go ahead and send your votes to me in the chat box, and be sure to specify who you vote as your first person choice and who is your second person choice. Because it does come into play where your first person choice gets 2 points, but then your second choice person gets 1 point. So as everything gets tallied up, it comes into play. So just be sure to specify that when you send in your votes to me.
Okay. Let's see. Okay, guys. So are we all needing say another minute or two? We all good to go?